Wendy Lisogar-Cocchia is a businesswoman who grew up working in her father's hotel. She picked his business brain and convinced him to add some splash and a spa to his hotel. She is now the CEO of the expanding Absolute Spas and this year the chair of the Vancouver Board of Trade, where she meets world leaders and other influential people. It is my pleasure to welcome Wendy Lisogar-Cocchia to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Hello, Fanny. Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, as you know, I knew your father.
Yes.
And I knew he was a smart businessman. He obviously gave a little bit of that to you, the smart businesswoman.
Well, you know, being raised in a family business is you certainly learn the ropes, and that was one of the best experiences I ever had, as I got to do every single job that was in the hotel. And because he was always at work, I literally grew up in the hotel. And we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year.
Really?
Yeah, but you know, as a young kid, you know, 7 years old, I remember being there when we had a first fire. Or, you know, he'd bring guests home from the hotel when the hotel was full, actually. Pelé came to the backyard for a game of soccer one day. It was an amazing...
Pelé?
Pelé, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've swanned around with some of the rich and famous before now. Board of Trade, what's your mandate? What does the chair do?
Well, the chair is a volunteer position, although I think my business partner, my husband, jokes that it's become my full-time job, but it's addicting. You know, the Vancouver Board of Trade is an amazing organization. I always say, if you're in business in Vancouver, regardless of your business, not-for-profit, in the consular corps, you must be a member of the Vancouver Board of Trade. There's over 17 committees that we have, and I think that's one of the things that I'm the proudest of, because we work so hard on many social issues and have very powerful community affairs committee that works on homelessness and education, and is working very closely with the city and Dr. Penny Ballum and the mayor on many issues, and then of course all the way to the end of the spectrum on our economic development policies.
I read you had a woman coming up, Armstrong, Karen Armstrong, about 12 steps to a compassionate life.
Yes.
So not only do you have that being talked about at Board of Trade, you also have, I believe, the Premier tomorrow and the Finance Minister post-budget.
Yes, that's a first, absolutely. We often are very fortunate enough to have one or the other, but this time we were able to get both of them to come to the keynote speaking for the luncheon.
And as a chair, do you have to make sure it's balanced, so to speak? In other words, if you have the Liberals, will you have a Conservative down the road? Do you do the math on that at all, or say we're not right, left, or center? We're everywhere, or how does it work?
We definitely are apartisan, is that we are policy driven and project driven and mandate driven, and it's a fantastic collaboration of thousands of members, and we have a dynamic executive board and 37 directors, and that's really fun, chairing meetings of 37 A-type personalities, and I think
everybody's in control.
You know, it's the fantastic thing, Fanny, because you have many people at the table but one voice, and it really is, you know, a true democratic process. And we are a spirit of enterprise group, and so we definitely are about building business and building wealth and building the economy for our community, but also, as we show by our 17 committees, you know, doing that so that we're making sure that we're taking care of the social programs as well, driving the economy.
And you reach internationally, I know. I know you had Leslie Stahl from 60 Minutes come up to do what? I wasn't there.
Yes, that was at our AGM, and that was very exciting. It was interesting, you know, Fanny, because it was actually the first day after the Stanley Cup riot, and she told me that it was our 124th AGM. It was my dream to have her in, as you know, I grew up watching her on TV. I think you interviewers are fantastic.
Well, thank you. I'm no Leslie Stahl, but.
And you know, she said that she had turned on the TV that morning in her home in New York, and that she couldn't believe when her husband said, "That's Vancouver." She thought it was on the other side of the world. Of course, the way that it was portrayed about the riot, and she didn't know whether she should come. So she actually phoned me.
She did?
Should I? Yes, you
Still
should still
on?
come. And it was fantastic because the Premier came actually as well, and so that was a fantastic interaction between the two of them. As Leslie Stahl actually interviewed the Premier,
Premier Christy Clark.
Christy Clark, yeah, that's correct, and that was Christy's first address to the Vancouver Board of Trade as well, and you know, so it was a pretty trying day.
So Leslie Stahl interviewed Premier Clark.
Yes, and Leslie
When
Stahl.
60 Minutes is in your office, you don't want to be interviewed.
No, I know.
But I'm sure it was very nice. as they say.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was very interesting for sure. And what was fun is this, that when Leslie Stahl agreed to be our keynote speaker, because she does that a little bit, but not a lot these days, she said, I don't just want to stand up there and have them listen to me when, of course, that's all we want. She says, I want to be interviewed. And so I had to interview her. That was my first.
You did.
I was sitting in your shoes, and it's
Great.
tough on that side.
Actually, it's easy on this side because you don't have to know the answers. And you're in control. Pacific Rim trade, major areas that you look at. Obviously, Pacific Rim trade, Asia Pacific big, energy big.
Absolutely. It's just that we have mining forums. We had Minister Rich Coleman come out, and you know, these events sell out weeks and often months in advance. And we have panels throughout the day, so it's very educationally sound. There's lots of information coming. I think that's one of the most greatest values about the Vancouver Board of Trade is its events. It's the first to know, it's the first to have.
Sure.
The people, you know, when Premier Clark decided to roll out the BC Jobs Plan, she chose the Vancouver Board of Trade. Post-budget, they chose the Vancouver Board of Trade. Very interesting. When the mayors had their debate, for example, is they chose the Vancouver Board of Trade as one of their first public forums.
Right. And anybody can come, or do you have to be a member? Or does it depend?
You can come if you're not a member, but it costs you more. So your membership pays off really quick. Yes.
And would it be important for somebody who doesn't have a business to be involved in the Board of Trade? I know if you have a business and you're in business or you're a CEO, it's important that you have a network, a connection.
Absolutely.
What if you're just interested in the speakers?
Well, that's what I love about it. It's fascinating. You know, I don't have a lot to do with mining, but I go to those forums and I learn so very much. And without question, you should be a member even if you're in your own individual business or not in business, maybe looking for something. It's the ultimate networker.
She says, as the chair. Of course you would say that.
True, though. I mean, I'm not a committee lover, and to get me around the director's table for 10 years and then to dedicate this type of time is because, you know, exciting results come to fruition, and good results, too.
And you have good people moderating. I know Carol Taylor, I don't know if she's moderated yet, but she's moderated before, and she's moderating something on the energy sector, something coming up.
She's absolutely amazing. That's one of the things that we've done with our panels as well, is that we have, you know, keynotes that could be on their own. So, for example, Elia Luongo from KPMG, just been named the Managing Tax Partner for Canada, spends most of his time in Toronto now, but he's still one of our board executives. He moderated an expert tax panel. Okay,
and do you give them parameters? And maybe not you, but somebody at the top, the CEO, the president, Ian Black now, the CEO president, would he give them parameters about where he wants them to go, or are they free to say what they want to say?
They are free. Is you know, the value of the information, and often where the topic goes is very interesting as well. And one of the greatest things we do is at the end of each event we have questions from the audience, and that's often 10, 15, 20 minutes, and that's when a lot of the great dialogue comes to fruition.
Okay, and sports figures too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Claire Hughes was there, wasn't she?
Yes, that was fantastic. And that was really interesting, Fanny. Speaking of the social progress that the Board of Trade is making, that was about Bell Canada came and donated $50 million across Canada. So they were launching it out at UBC in Vancouver here. And she came as one of the keynote speakers with the president of Bell, George Cope, that day. And it's about mental health. Let's talk about it. And
right, because she's dealt with depression, right?
That is correct.
Isn't it, Clara? And
yes.
she said you don't think a top athlete has to do that, but often does. Chief Chu, Jim Chu, Vancouver Police Department. Do you get him when post-riot, or do you get him just because he's the chief?
No, he was scheduled to come as a keynote for that day, but it was, of course, very timely that he spoke about the post-riot and, you know, how it affected business, how it affected our people in the community, in the downtown core, et cetera.
Sure. And I know the Canucks. Well, I think the GM was there, wasn't he? Mike Gellis one time,
yes,
and Vigneault, and
we just had a fantastic.
Just talk hockey, or what do they talk about?
Yeah, Francesco Aquilina about hockey. They got some fun questions about the team and who they're going to be drafting, but then also about the business of professional sports.
Yeah, and Rick Hansen. I think today's the anniversary, 25 years ago.
Oh wow!
I think we're close.
Yes. Well, it's very exciting. I know that there are approximately 5 out of the 7,000 people of passing the Canadian Mint Medal along the way in Canada from east to west.
In the meantime, you're expanding the spa.
Yes.
You're in the global spa business.
Yes, very fortunate to be in the tourism business. Love the hotel business, love the restaurant business, comedy club, spas, products. It's a nice thing to be able to do for people.
I was amazed the day you talked Dad into putting a spa into that hotel.
Me too.
I know. Well,
very much to his chagrin, actually. He made it tough for me with the rent negotiation, I can tell you that.
I think I remember that. Yes, I do. Rest his soul.
Yes.
How nice to see you.
Thank you, Fanny.
Thank you. Oh, and Roberta Jameson,
Yes.
Chief and Ombudsman, she'll be coming to the Board of Trade, I think Friday.
Absolutely, very proud of the work
Don't miss her.
we do. Yeah.
Well, you won't.
Yes.
Thank you. Wendy Lisogar, Chair of the Vancouver Board of Trade. And remember, you can catch all of our conversations on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Fanny Studio 4.